What is up, guys? My name's Sal. Today I have Evan Ziminakis on the Flimsy Hat Podcast. This is going to be episode 111. And today we're just going to be hearing from him. So, Evan, how's it going, man?
Hi, not too bad. Nice to see you. Good evening, I think, in your end, right? It's good morning on my end. I think we have 12 hours difference or something.
Yeah, it's 10:30 right now for me. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm like
It,
time.
yeah, it's 10:30 for me as well. but but on the next day, it's Thursday for me. It's still Wednesday for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's still Wednesday. Yeah, it is still Wednesday for me. So, how's the future going?
Yes. Same old, same old.
Oh, that's good. So, Evan, where are you from, man?
Originally, I'm from Greece. I was born and raised in Greece. And then at 18 years old, when I finished high school, I went to Switzerland. I studied and I went to the UK. And one of those students that leaves homes to study but never kind of come back, you know.
All right.
And I lived and worked in 8 different countries:
Wow.
Greece, Germany, Switzerland, England, Australia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore.
Okay. So, what was it like in your experiences in your youth and kind of shaped how you were in Greece?
Yeah, well, grew up in the environment where my middle class, family, not spoon fed at all.
Mhm.
My parents worked, pretty much all their life. I grew up in the 80s, so at that time Greece was kind of developing. Because 35 years after Second World War II. So yeah, pretty good. I spent most of my high school and junior high school, a soccer player, soccer fan. My mom chased me around to study, but and all that. Yeah.
Was soccer like the big sport in Greece, or is there like other sports that are typically played in high school?
Yeah, football. You guys call it soccer and basketball.
Okay.
Because in 1987, yes, 1987, Greece won the European Championship in basketball. So that was the explosion of the sport in Greece. Since then, there were baskets placed in every schoolyard. So it really became the national sports, basketball. And then in 2004, Greece won the European Championship in football, in soccer.
Okay.
So these are the 2 main sports: football, soccer, and basketball. Yeah,
Do they play American football in Greece?
they do. They do. I think you're a big fan, right? But
Yeah.
they do. They do play rugby and all that. But it's gaining momentum.
Hmm.
Yes, but it's not so popular. Yeah.
It seems to be a sport that's definitely gaining momentum, especially with the National Football League playing like a certain game around like every country, like Mexico City, England. I think they're in Germany this year too. If I'm not mistaken, the upcoming season they're gonna have a game in Germany. So I think
Right.
it's starting to become like a world sport in a sense. Now I don't think it's gonna be as nearly as popular as soccer ever is, but it's definitely interesting to see how it's shaping out across the world actually.
Yeah, and I think after COVID and after lockdowns, people really are starting to adapt their more, talking general sports and exercise. People are starting to adopt, I think, a more healthy lifestyle. So if you go to parks, you definitely see more people walking, eating healthier supplements, eating less burgers and all that. So that's one of the positives, if we could distinguish positives and negatives, after lockdowns and after COVID.
I think what COVID did was like kind of really shocked the world in the sense of like nobody really talked about health as much as they do now. So I think that like you said, is definitely a positive. You haven't seen many people like mental health, eating correctly, the whole food, like what foods are good for you, all these like bands of certain ingredients in foods compared to like you know European countries versus United States. So like you're definitely seeing an uptick, I think, in people actually talking and making actions about changing their lifestyles.
Yeah, which is a good thing, I suppose. And it's a good thing. And I'm not sure how it's in the US, but obviously I'm in Asia, right now, and in Singapore. So there's a lot of vegetarians here, vegetarians, vegans, and some of them do it also for religious reasons. Um, Definitely, I started to eat healthier, like compared to 4 or 5 years ago. I probably eat fried chicken and chips and beer with my work almost every day. But I have adopted a more healthy lifestyle, and I take care of my physical as well as mental health. Yeah.
So how did you get into executive coaching? Was this something that you did specifically study in college, or did you kind of start a business and kind of work your way up?
Yeah, my background, I worked my way up. I got accredited as an executive coach from ICF, and I studied online for at the Center of Executive Coaching, which is based in the US. But I come from a corporate background.
Okay.
I was straight after finishing doing my MBA in the UK. I worked as a brand manager for a big company in the UK for almost 8 years. And then after that, I was headhunted to help to assist the financial brokerage company expand in Asia. And then I did this for 6 years. So after working in the corporate world for around 12 to 15 years, I realized that at the end of the day, it's all about people. And what I mean by that is I've seen companies with very good product out there, but they struggle to scale because the way they manage people is not the best. Like their internal culture is toxic. The managers don't know how to do performance reviews and all that. So they struggle to scale. And I have also seen companies where their product or their service is mediocre, is not the best, it's average, but they really scale their business and they expand really fast because they know how to manage people. And I always say this, I say majority of work problems are people problems. Therefore, if you know how to deal with people, you know how to run a business. So then when I realized that it's all about people, I said, okay, let me now share my experience, share my mistakes by helping others learn how to manage their people and their businesses better. Like you see, my most of my clients are SME business owners.
Okay.
Yeah. Like this kind of people, 50 plus employees, not small companies, not huge, but this kind of small, medium enterprises that they account for, is a big percentage in every country, um, where they really, want to take themselves to the next level. And this is where I work with their senior leadership team, with their managers, and with sometimes the business owners to help them really scale. Because I think this is what the struggle is, especially if you look at technology companies, tech guys, and engineering companies, where for them 1+1 = 2. Okay, cool. I like that. I respect that. But when it comes to managing people, you need more than that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
motivation, discipline, and purpose are often words that are thrown around when comparing like how people are successful or how they succeed and people who don't. In your opinion, which one is like the most needed in order to be successful? Or is it a
To be able, yeah, go on. Go on.
combination of them all?
Look, sorry, it's a combination. Um, there is no cookie cutter approach. It's a combination of things. Um, First of all, I mean, okay, how do you define success, right? Okay, like, and from what perspective? So let's look at from the perspective of a business owner. For me, success as a business owner is to be able to provide as many job opportunities as possible, if you think about it, because you are recruiting people, you are hiring people, you are providing job opportunities. It means you are providing people with career development opportunities, you're providing people with salaries. It means they can support themselves and they can support their families. So in order to be successful, therefore to scale your business, I think it's a mixture of things. First of all, you need a competitive product. You actually need a product or a service that people will want to buy or subscribe. And then once you have that, is I think it's all about finding out what your people want, what your employees want, and then supporting them achieve what they want so you can achieve what you want. So having the empathy to understand really what your people want. And that was one of my biggest mistakes when I was, as I said, straight after university, I landed a good job, but I was coming across like really like it's all about me, it's all about me, right? And then I end up losing lots of my team members because they thought like, okay, good, I'm happy for you, but what is in it for me? So that's the first mistake, and that's the first lesson I learned, that if you want to really scale a department or scale a company, is good. Yes, you should have your own strategy, maybe your exit strategy, but if you want to achieve that, you need to look at people and then sit down with them one on one with all of them and ask them, how can I support you? Why are you in this business? Where do you see yourself in the future? And how can I help you get there?
So it's about putting the people in your charge first above your own needs.
Yes, absolutely. And the manager's customer is not the customer. The manager's customer is the employee.
Okay. All right. What advice would you give to a leader or a leader that you see in your work that's not willing to get into the like the wet works with their teammates or whoever they're leading? They're more
Yeah,
ego, I guess, in a sense. Like they let leadership get to their head, in a sense.
yeah. I mean, look, it's as long as you know how to channel it. Having an ego and being and having a vision and it's not a bad thing as long as you know how to channel it. So the advice I have is lead by example. The advice I have is lead by example. What do I mean? Is you should model the behavior you want to see from others. Leadership is very much like a chocolate fountain you see at weddings. It flows from the top.
Okay.
So model the behavior that you want to see. This is the advice I have.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. It flows from top, and like the chocolate fondue, the chocolate fountains, it really flows from top. So, it's really monkey see, monkey do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, People are often told that they have like a task that they have to do with an organization, but they're almost like demanded to do it without giving any reason behind it. What would you say to the person who's resenting doing that task? Like, should they do it, or should they continuously like ask the questions why they have to do it?
Yeah, look, it depends. Being curious and understand the bigger picture is good, but if you keep asking because you want to create tension is a different thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So what advice I have is a tool I use in my time management coaching framework. So if you could take a piece of paper, an A4 piece of paper, and draw a quadrant. You draw a quadrant, and in the middle of each quadrant, you write decide, quadrant top left, decide, do, delete, delegate.
Okay.
So when you have a task, every time I have a task, I try to place this task in one of the quadrants. So decide. The first thing I need to do of the task is I need to decide where I'm going to place it. So the first thing is decide. The next thing is I'm going to do it. I am going to delegate, or I'm going to delete. So this is a tool I use to decide what I'm going to do with the task in hand. If it's urgent, if let's say I'm a senior leader and the task is something on a high end, or is something, some confidential information, I will do it. Or I might delegate it, or I might actually not do it at all. So this is a framework I use: decide, do, delete, delegate, and then decide where are you going to place the task, and then you take a decision.
Okay.
I
It's
mean, I delegate most of my tasks. I like to delegate.
hey man, you got to do what works for you at the end of the day. Establishing trust and rapport with your executive clients is important. What advice do you give them to in order to build the same trust and rapport with their teammates?
Yeah, trust is a big thing, and I'm glad you bring the word up, since the word up, because trust is a big thing, especially when it comes to remote work or hybrid work. Like if you are a business owner or a manager or whatever, you might have people work remotely and or in a hybrid, and and sometimes you might see them once per month, and you may actually, there are some business owners that they have teams all over the world. They actually never meet the person face to face.
Hmm.
Um, so trust is a big thing, and it's a two-way thing. It's a you need to earn it, and and the other person needs to earn it as well. So it's if you want to earn trust, you just have to be yourself. You can't really fake it, and you just have to be yourself, really. And if there is no other way, you just have to be yourself, because it's like, if you're not yourself, if you're trying to be someone else with your communication, with your the way you present yourself, it's obvious. So trust, it's something really you earn. And if you want that's the mindset, first of all. And if you want some practical tips, is like, once per month, you should sit down with your people one on one, either face to face, grab a cup of coffee, or virtually have a virtual coffee, and have a human conversation, and say, hey, how is it going, Michael? Really, how are you? And how is your life? How is your family? What are you struggling with? How can I support you? How can I help you? And really have those meaningful human conversations. And and don't be afraid to show vulnerability, like, for the uh, up to now, managers, we were afraid to say I don't know to a question that we really don't know the answer. But nowadays, if we don't know, we just have to admit and say, look, I don't know. So number one, again, to recap, trust is something you earn. Number two, sit down with your people, have meaningful human conversations. And number three, if you know something, just say you don't know, and you will find out and come back to them in a couple of days.
How does somebody get through like that sense of like admitting that they don't know something? Because I think that's something a lot of people aren't willing to do, especially if they've been in maybe a specific job for a long time.
Well, you mean like if they don't know something, what they need to do?
Yeah, like some people just aren't willing to have like that courage to say I don't admit, so they'll like kind of beat
Yeah.
around the bush.
Yeah, I think this has to do with the culture of the company.
Okay.
Um, so um, the most successful organizations that I see, and some of them I work with them, is DDOs, deliberately developmental organizations. So they have the culture, and they allow their people to make mistakes. DDOs, we call them DDOs. So they create the environment for people to make mistakes and learn from them. Because actually, if you think about it, you learn more from your mistakes and your failures than you do from your successes. Now, that's number one. On the individual level, just don't worry about it. Like, if you know something, just ask for help. You don't ask, you don't get.
Hmm.
If you don't ask, the answer, guess what, will always be no. So don't worry about it. If you don't ask, just go ask, and, ask your colleague, ask your supervisor, ask your manager. And, there is nothing wrong with asking. And this is what, this is the way you learn. And I suppose people that are curious, naturally, they ask questions, naturally, curious people. So it's just a mindset thing. Don't worry about it too much. Just go ask for help.
What are the commonalities that you find between good executives and leaders and bad ones?
There are three types of leaders: leaders by position, leaders by disposition, and the leaders who have both characteristics. So a leader by position is somebody that was placed there, was promoted there to lead people. So he's a leader, what we call by position. He got the promotion. A leader by disposition is somebody that doesn't have the leadership title, but naturally helps others, gives guidance, he's easy to work with, and so on. So the best leaders out there have both characteristics. So they are leaders by disposition, and they're also leaders by position. So if you really want to be, a leader that influences people, you really need to have both characteristics. You need to be appointed, you need to have the title and the authority, but also you need to have the charisma and the ability and the attitude to help people.
Okay. What's the toughest decision that you've had to make in your own business that you've been a part of?
The toughest decision,
Yeah.
yeah, was to drop a client because I had another client from a similar industry. So if I was to take kind of the other client, if the other client will know, they will create a lot of conflict of interest, and I might end up losing both, and also my name as a L&D and as a coach. So that was one of the toughest decisions. I had to drop a big contract. Yeah,
Was
yeah.
that scary for you to do? Because it could like that other one you picked up could have also went like south, basically, right?
No, well, financially it was difficult, but you need to think sometimes long term, and you need to think also ethically, and you need to think not only for the sake of your own pocket, you need to think of the implications that might arise later. So I think I end up making the right decision. Yes, it wasn't easy to make, but what if something goes wrong in the end, and you end up losing both?
Oh, that's a valid point, man.
Yeah.
With working with top executives, what do you find common amongst them?
Look, yeah. eh, it's not easy to work with executives because they think they know it all, and they might do. All right. What is commonality is a lot of the times they 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 are blocking their own way, and this is, you know what I mean, like, yeah. And this is where coaching, this is where it really helps, this is where it really gives you a different perspective, a helicopter view perspective, so it helps you get out of your own way
So,
to allow for your people to come through, and to allow you, yeah, to really identify how are you spending your day. Are you spending your day doing small tasks, or are you spending your day doing more strategic tasks that they go, that and that will help you take your company or your department to the next level? So this is a common thing. Like, they are on their own. They are blocking their own way. So this is where coaching helps them.
do you have people that often like originally opened up to coaching and then like nah, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out, or like how do you like handle that, and do you like convince them like no, you do need me because like you are.
Nah, don't convince. Nah, you can't. I'm gonna give you. You can bring the water to the horse, but you can't make the horse drink, right? This is I learned that we say in the UK, but now you can't really convince somebody. I mean, you need to come with an open mind, and if you are a sports player and you say now, let's go back to sports and business is very similar. If you have the mindset of that, now I know it all. I don't need the coach. My method works. I mean, you already have that mindset. Yeah, it may work for now, but are you going to take yourself to the next level? So now, if you go in to try to convince, you can't really. And I don't really believe in motivation. Like, honestly, Who calls you? Let me ask you a question, right? Who calls you every morning and tells you, yeah, come on, you can do it? Probably the same person that calls me. No one. So,
No, no, not the
right?
single person. It's something like inside of you. You just get up and you have to do it. And if you don't, well, then you write that day off and you start tomorrow again.
Exactly. So, you can't really convince, like, it's, you either need to, you really need to have that desire to, I want to, I'm good, but I want to go to the next level. And again, it's all starts in your mind because, like, I like to work, with the SME business owners or with the leaders that are good. They're already successful. They are good, but they want to go to the next level. And you know, if you fall into a trap as a coach, try to convince people. Again, you're pushing people, and you shouldn't be pushing people. You should be really pulling people your way, and whoever is gonna come is gonna come, and that's how it is.
You said something about you mentioned the word desire. Like in your own definition, what is desire? Because I think people always say like, I want to have the six pack abs, I want to be the multi-millionaire, but they just say it. They don't really find a desire for it.
Yeah, humans, we're self-centered species. Um, Social media, it's a fucker. It's we get Jones so much, but what other people are doing. So I bet you, if you go and ask there, you go out there and as you said, and you ask 10 people, why do you want the six pack, or why do you want to become a millionaire? They don't know. They don't have an answer. So desire it comes with self-awareness. Like, what do you really want? And not many people have that self-awareness, and social media is not helping us because it portrays all the time all this fake wealth and six pack and all that. So what is desire? Well, this is something that is not easy to ask to answer. It's, what is desire for you is different from me. For me, it's like to be able to provide to my family and to be able to support as many entrepreneurs and business owners as possible, and to be able to 3 months, really, these are what I'm talking about as realistic desire goals for me, is 3 months out of 12 to be able to work from the beach remotely and to make X amount of money every month to support my family, and I know the number. That's my desire. Your desire might be different. So you really need to look at your environment, and it comes also at different stages in life. When you are 25, your desires are different. When you are 35, when you're 40, when you have a family. But you really need to sit down and be honest with yourself. Like, look, if becoming a millionaire and having a flashy lifestyle, this is what you really want, fine, fair play to you, man, go for it. If you really want to have a six pack, go for it. It's, but how do you want to get the six pack? Do you want to get the six pack with a plastic surgery, or do you want to get the six pack by exercising and eating healthy? That's another thing you need to see. Because getting a six pack nowadays is actually, you can get it with a plastic surgery, and it's not so expensive anymore, is it?
I didn't even know you could do that, to be honest with you.
I think you can.
Wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Not in today.
Like, yeah. I mean, you in life, I think, if okay, I think you're a sports guy, right? You do.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So look, if you go to the gym today and you exercise, you do a good workout for an hour, you go back home, you take your t-shirt off, you look at yourself in the mirror, you will see no difference in your body whatsoever. If you do that for a week, 1 hour every day, you will still see no difference. But if you exercise every day for 45 minutes, after a month, you go back home, you take your t-shirt off, you look yourself in the mirror, you will start to see some difference. So what's my point? Consistency, not intensity, brings you result.
So
And
You
it's the same.
so you
Go
put
on.
consistency over anything
Co-
in a sense.
I think so. Consistency, not intensity. And it's the same in the business world. If you are listening to that and to this, and maybe you're running a department, or maybe you're running a small company or a big company, sitting down with, if you go now and sit down with your people and have one-on-one conversations to find out what they want, you do a good performance review. Don't expect miracles to happen tomorrow, or productivity to go up, or sales to go up. But if you do that every 2 weeks or every month for 6 months in a row, you will start to experience positive results in your company. You will reduce turnover, you will improve productivity, you will improve sales. So I do believe, yes, I believe that in a consistency, not intensity, brings you better results.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your teenage or younger self?
Ah, yeah, that's a good question. The advice I would give is just take calculated risks. Like, parents, they want, they want our own good. There is no parent in the world that actually doesn't want the good for his or her child. But as a teenager, you want to do sports, but your parents are telling you study. So you need to, and not a lot of parents out there actually sit down properly with their kids and tell them, listen, um, you can follow your sports, but this is the minimum grade that I expect from you. If they drop below that minimum level, let's say 6 out of 10, you need to drop also sports and focus more on your school, right? Not a lot of parents do that. Most parents, they restrict their kids. As a parent, what you should do is say, yes, go practice every day, every week. Every week for 3 days per week. Follow your football coaching, basketball coaching, American football coaching. Follow your team. Go do your training. But the minimum grade should be, I don't know, B or whatever, or 6 out of 10. If it drops below, it means training taking too much of your time. You're too tired. So give your kids that freedom, but also set them a standard and then let them run and then check back on them couple of weeks, couple of months later. So as a teenager, not a lot of kids will do that. So as a teenager, maybe you need to go and coach your parents, really, and tell them, look, mom and dad, let me do what I want, but I promise this, I'm going to study, and this is the minimum grade that I will get. So let me give it a go or something, because it's not happening very often. It's again, as parents push their kids too much, because most of us don't know any better, right?
Yeah, you want the best for your kids. Now, I don't have kids, but I'm around kids all the time. They want the best for their kids, but at what's the sacrifice? Like at what level is too much for the kid too, right?
Yes, you see, my son, he's 5 now. When he becomes, let's say, I don't know, 15, he's probably gonna have big, as a teenager, it's like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. Now, I don't know how education will be in 10 years down the line. Maybe it will be totally different. But if, let's say, he wants to do sports, this is the approach that I will have. I will say, fine, go do your practice, and then I will. What do you think though would be the minimum grade that you should get by the end of the term? And then I will let him answer, and then check back on him. And then if he achieves that, fair play, we'll celebrate. If he doesn't, he needs to feel responsible for it. So I will develop that responsibility, that you are responsible for your own actions.
How important do you think it is to actually go to college? Like in the sense of success with
Yeah.
business executives, because you see like some business owners, or like take like an Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, dropping out of college, they're multi-billionaires, right? Does going to college really play an aspect in how successful one individual will be, or is it just transmission of they could be successful but not necessarily?
Yeah, this is a hot topic right now. Yeah, but if you look at Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and all these people, it's like if you look at the percentage, is 1 in 1,000 probably, right? I mean, yes. So how many, if you look at statistics, how many dropouts end up like them? I don't know, 1 in 1,000, maybe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So, and right now, if you look at companies, they are recruiting people with experience. But, okay, look, a college degree doesn't guarantee you success, but you have more chances getting an internship if you have a piece of paper in your hands. Like, dropping out of college as well doesn't guarantee you failure. But if I was to choose college degree for a couple of years or no, I will go for the degree. Because if you're 20, if you're 22, 19, and you go to college for 2, 3 years, so what? You're still 20. After that, if you want to follow your degree subject, yes, by all means. But after that, even if you want to do totally something else, you're still 22, man. So what? Just do something else. You still have like so much time in front of you. But I think a degree helps because look, a college degree is not only about the subject that you're learning, let's say IT, software, maths, and for some professions, like you need a degree. You can't become a doctor without a degree,
Sure.
right? You can't, yeah, okay. So you can't become a surgeon without a degree, right? Yes, a pharmacist or a medic. So, but a degree should also teach you other things apart from your subject. Should teach you teamwork, collaboration, how to work well with others, and it also helps you make friends. So degree, yes, no, I would go for yes.
I don't know where this piece of advice stemmed from, but
Mm,
the question. This is more like a
go
comment.
for it, yeah.
People go to college for one of two things: to build connections or to party, and that's all they go for. That holds some truth if you think about it. Like, I don't know, maybe in America it holds some truth. I don't know anything about colleges or universities around in other countries, but I feel like at least in America that holds some truth.
Yeah. So they go to college to party or to make connections. What's wrong with either?
I guess you're not wrong, and when you really think about it, but like, does that hold any like truth? Like, what are colleges like? I guess because you were in England, so what is university like there?
Look, as it's okay. You go to study, but no, the perception is like, especially in Europe or in Asia, now you go to study, and the rest comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course you're gonna party, of course you're gonna meet people, of course you're gonna form relationships, but you don't, especially in Asia where things are a bit more strict. No, you go to study. Like, yeah, this is the main objective. The rest come along, and I think it's pretty much down to the individual what you're gonna do with it. Um, because you could go to the best college and you'll come up nothing, and you could go to an average college and come up with a good amount of network, good network, good friends, and a good party time, and at the same time, good knowledge. So I think it's all down to the individual to get the most out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging lesson a young person has to learn?
The most what? Challenging
What's the
lesson.
most challenging lesson a young person has to learn?
I think it comes to relationships, especially personal relationships, because when you're young, I think you found the one. Sometimes you get disappointed, right? So
Mm.
I think is to, yeah, let's talk a little about that. Personal relationships is not to get disappointed. And the lesson is, um, don't get disappointed, and take it easy. And another lesson is, sometimes you talk about college, right? Some we ask, if you think about it, we ask 18 and 20-year-olds to decide what they will study and what to do for the rest of their life. It's not fucking easy.
I'm glad you said that because that is something I talk about all the time. Coaching, I coach the high school groups, so the 14 to 18-year-olds, right? And I ask them
Right.
all the time, like, what do you want to do? Oh, well, I'm going to go to college. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to college for? I don't know, liberal arts or culinary or IT, or I want to be a lawyer. Well, that's great. But like, what do you truly want to do with your life? Like, what do you truly want to do? Because I did it. I think it's like 80% of the people that go to college change their degree at least once. And I was a part of that. I mean, I changed mine from criminal justice and disaster preparedness, emergency management to cybersecurity. But I don't do anything in cybersecurity. So it's like,
Yeah.
And I'm 23. So, I mean, I'm still, I got a lot
Yeah.
there. But, yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. Like, you don't know what the hell you're going to want to do, you know?
You see, and nowadays, the same thing is happening with 40, 50, 60-year-olds. Like they are changing careers at 40, 50, 60-year-old. Why? Because the pandemic, the lockdowns and all that help us realize, in the US, the great resignation is happened all over the world, but I call it the great reevaluation of your values. Like you literally have 40, 50, 60, even 65 years old that are changing careers and they are studying something they always wanted to study. Like, and especially with online, literally now you can get a degree online for the fraction of a course, like $2,000, you can get a bachelor's degree and from a reputable university where you can attend classes online from the comfort of your house. You can be in China and you can get a US degree from a university. They will post you the degree a couple of years later and boom, off you go. So I think this is where education is going. Because to get a degree, it's expensive for parents, right?
Mhm.
You need to relocate, you need to get an apartment or accommodation, you need food, you need your living expenses, plus your degree fees, or you need like 100K or something.
Yeah.
But nowadays with the rise of, for the last couple of years, loads of reputable universities offer bachelor's, master's, and certificate degrees totally online. And in a couple of years, you can graduate and it costs you like $5,000. It's like 80% less than the traditional thing. I need to move there. I need to rent an apartment. I need to study.
Yeah.
So it is fantastic. Why not? Why not do your thing even if you're 40 or 50 years old?
Yeah, I know from my own personal experiences when I transferred universities, I probably saved 10 grand by doing like basic classes for like $100 maybe, if that. And I actually think the program was free because of COVID. It was just happening and like they were brand new, but they accepted it. It was like your basic like writing classes, your math classes, but it saved me probably 10 grand. And it's like most universities accept it because it's basic reading and math,
Yes, like exactly. And you have live classes, live with your teacher comes live, and you have recorded. But I think another thing is like I think when humans, the thing that you graduate, you get a job, you work up until 65, whatever, and then you retire. This thing is gone.
I agree.
I think it's gone. People will change careers and jobs as often as they like, and to do the things that they really want to do. And if you're like somebody in your age now, let's say you're 23, 25, and you started to become a pilot, you will not retire as a pilot because in 30 years, let's say you're 25 and you're going to fly up until 60, 65, right? So you have another 35, 40 years. You're never going to retire as a pilot because in 20 years time, airplanes will be flown they will be pilotless.
Yeah.
So it's a guarantee thing. So maybe you will do something else in the industry. Maybe you will monitor it from a like air traffic control room, or maybe you will do something else like engineering or something. So the world is changing fast, I think.
Significantly. Significantly. What is your life purpose, and when did you know you found it?
Yeah, it's this is a very heavy subject. I don't think we ever. I don't know. Do we ever find our life purpose? I don't know. But what makes me happy on a professional level is to see um, the transformation and the help I am able to provide to my clients, which has a rub-off effect to the personal life. Because, for example, when I work with a business owner, they feel less overwhelmed, they manage their time better, they improve productivity. Therefore, when they go back home, they don't snap at their partner or their kids. And it's happening a lot.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot. So I'm happy that I help their professional life, and indirectly I help them improve their personal life.
So for you, it's about service of others.
It's absolutely about service of others, and this is what leadership is all about, to be of service.
Who was your biggest role model?
Look, I don't really have a role model to say like this figure or the other person or that, but um, you know, uh, yeah, it's my family, the environment I grew up with, and I see my parents work both hard, and and this is what you see. You see the ups, you see the downs, and um, this is, I guess, was my role model, the environment that I grew up with, and different people grow up in different environments. Some environments are more challenging than others. Um, and you see, for example, some very successful people like Tony Robbins. He grew up in a very challenging environment, right? I think his mother abandoned him, his father abandoned, I don't know, like the whole thing, right? Yes.
Very poor, whole nine. Yeah, no, I know him. I know of him. Yeah.
Like he changed, I think his father, right? He changed like I don't know, a few father figures, right?
His mom wanted him to be a truck driver. And he just like, nah, I can't do this. And then he went to like one of Jim Rohn's
Yeah.
development speeches, and that's kind of his. Oh, that's part of his story, not the whole, but yeah.
One of his breakthrough points. So, look, the environment plays an important role. I mean, again, we look at a success story, but there are other stories similar to him that they're not turning up so successful. So, um, yeah, it's not easy it's not easy. Um, and the environment is important. What's the best way to become an alcoholic? The fastest way: go spend a week with an alcoholic, right? um
Correct. Yeah. No, I would say
you know so some people are not so fortunate, unfortunately. So um yeah.
looking back on all your adversities, experiences, and challenges, is there anything that you would change?
Look, I think God puts us through because there is a bigger reason for it, right? Yeah, what I would have changed though is going back to the experience as a first time manager when I was 25. And actually, because of that experience, I have a dedicated coaching and training program for first time managers that I have created. And, 65% of first time managers, and this is a report McKinsey, fail within the first 24 months. What's the reason? They never got trained, not adequate training. They just got, you are good at sales, become a sales manager.
Mhm.
You're a good coder, become an IT department head. Well, your management skills, you know, you need different skills to become a manager from a practitioner. So what I would change is when I was a new first-time manager at the age of 25 years old, I would change my approach. I would be more empathetic and I would listen to my staff more.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I was ever received is to take a step back and evaluate the situation from a manager of mine. So sometimes what we do, uh, we really want to give the answer or the solution fast, but sometimes it's a good idea to not to give an answer. If let's say you have a work situation that you're dealing with, not straight away to give an answer. I don't know, take 5 minutes, 5 hours, one day, take a step back, say, I will get back to you, calm down, evaluate, and I guarantee you, you will come back with a better solution because you're not running on emotions.
On the opposite, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
No. The worst piece of advice. Yeah, on hiring. To hire, I remember to hire a specific person because we needed to fill that position. So the person who was giving me that advice is like, yeah, we end up hiring it, but then we regret it and we had to let go and then we had to hire again. It's because we really wanted to fill that position. So when it comes to hiring, you can't really rush things because 10 out of 10 times, if you want to fill a position just because you want to fill it, is the wrong decision. You really need to, hire slow, fire fast. Like, I don't mean firing like in a sense that I fire you, you go, you're unemployed. No, but like you need to create the environment at work for the right people to fit in. Right? I don't believe that I believe every company should have a non-firing policy. Like, unless you do something illegal, but to create that, you really need to have a good hiring process. Yes. To be able to identify and see how will that person not only fit in the company, but also develop in the company. Like, the Japanese, a lot of Japanese companies, I'm not sure if you know that, but their hiring process is really like 3 months, but they almost have zero turnover. They even, for some companies, they even come to your house to see the environment that you live in to help them determine if you're the right fit for the role.
Hmm.
Yes.
Interesting.
In Japan, like people hardly, like especially the more traditional companies, like the previous generation, people hardly leave their company. It's like it's really like a family, but their hiring process is very detailed.
So what's important is to build a company that feels like a family, not just a place that you collect a paycheck, essentially.
It's a challenging thing to do. It's not easy, and you need to look at what is the strategy, what is the overall purpose of the company. And I 6 months ago, one of my clients, I remember, the CEO, his purpose is to go IPO. He really wants to put the company in the stock market, and then he wants to become an active kind of member of the board and to receive his dividends. So he's very clear what he wants. So he says, Evan, I want to train my people, but I don't really want the process to take long. Because fine, as long as he knows what to do. Actually, it's better to have that goal than having a company that don't know what they want to do.
So as long as they have a clear
So
direction, it makes it easier for them.
then you need to know what is the ultimate goal of the company. What is the? Do you have an exit strategy? Do you want, or you don't have an exit strategy? You just want to run a profitable company every month? Fine. Or do you want to go IPO? Or do you want to be here for the long term? Or you want to contribute to society? Or you really need to see what is the ultimate goal of the company, and then everything else. Then you can structure everything around it. If you are a non-profit organization, obviously it's a different strategy, right? Yes, I want to develop my people, and not only I also want to develop my people on a personal note. I want to develop their emotional intelligence, blah blah blah. And I don't really care if they go work for another company, because my purpose of the company is I'm a non-profit. I want to contribute to society, blah blah blah. You get the point, right?
Yeah.
Versus a financial stockbroking company. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
No regret. Robbie Williams and no regrets. Then they don't work, right? Look, I think we all have regrets in terms of we always want to do something more. I mean, you know what I mean? How I imagine regret is like we always want to do something more. Like, because if humans, if we didn't want to do something more, we would still be living in caves. So yeah, I have a regret. Like, I didn't exercise this morning. I usually exercise first thing in the morning, but I didn't. So I need to bring it down now to my afternoon. So there is a regret. But a big regret, no, thanks God I don't have, and I want to stay like that. No.
Oh, that's always good to have. So I see you have some books behind you there. What is your
Oh, my camera is on, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What's your favorite book?
The favorite book is my book, which is coming up this week.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I should have moved that. Well, we can do another podcast if you want.
we could do that. Yeah, sure, man.
But if you can see, there's my book.
There you go.
You can see that.
Yeah, man, I like it.
Yeah, Leading in VUCA Times is coming up. I'm waiting for the first copy to be posted to me as a proofread. It's coming up on the 20th in 7 days.
Okay.
But no, I have plenty of good books here. That's a book I recommend. It's called An Everyone Culture. It's what I talk about DDO, deliberately developmental organization.
Okay.
And another good book I have here is this one, which is by Marshall Goldsmith. You might know him, the most famous coach. He's like 70 years old now. What got you here won't get you there.
Okay.
Which means as managers, as also as humans at work, what got us here will not get us there for the reasons that we have actually discussed. Like the way we used to manage people, it doesn't work anymore. What we want our life, the 65 retirement thing, So what got us here will not get us there. So we really need to have a kind of mindset of, if we probably can finish with this, Charles Darwin, which said, I'm not a Darwinian, but he said the evolution of humans. And he said that in the future, is not the most clever or the strongest of the species that will survive, but the one who is most adaptable to change.
Okay, man. That's great.
And how relevant is that today, right?
That's critically and extremely relevant today.
Yeah.
What is your favorite quote and why?
I have a quote, but I used it, but I don't want to use mine. Like, the quote I used is like, the manager, I think it's my quote, because when I thought I Googled it, there's nobody has it, right? The manager's customer is not the customer. The manager's customer is the employee. So I'm going to use Branson's the Virgin Group quote. He said that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. So really, look, yes, from time to time, especially if you're running a small, medium enterprise, sometimes you have to roll your sleeves up and serve the customer. But think about it. I, as a business owner, theoretically, I prefer to serve 50 employees than serve 500 customers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you serve well and you develop 50 employees, they will be able to serve 500 customers.
All right, final question. What
Right.
advice or information would you give to the next interviewee? Or a question you would ask them or want to know about them?
Yeah. Where do you see them? Where do they see themselves in, let's say, 3 years down the line?
Okay. Well, you're the first one with this because this is a question I just thought of like when I was coming up with the ones for you, and I was like, man, I really want to like get some more like connections going with that. So I like that, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe it's not easy for us to answer because of the changes, but for me, if I was to ask quickly, like we're looking to move to Europe because I have a lot of clients in Europe, and our son is 5 years old, so we want him to study in the European kind of educational system, maybe UK or Central Europe, or maybe Canada. I have some relatives in Canada. But obviously, due to COVID, all this kind of stayed back over the last couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since last 6 months, I suppose everything is kind of, all borders are open. So it's something that we're looking to do this year or next year. So yeah.
It's good, man. Well, everyone, I want to thank Evan for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. It was definitely a wealth of knowledge in an area that I know some about, but not enough about. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that will learn something from you. Evan, how can people get connected with you?
I'm in touch on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. So if you could Google my name, Evan Ziminakis, TZI. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. And so you could contact me there, or drop me an email. My website is executivecoachasia.com. Okay. Or drop me an email, Evan, EVAN, at executivecoachasia.com. I started my coaching business in Asia. That's why the URL, the domain.
That makes sense. So I'll definitely have them in the bottom of the video on YouTube, and then any other platforms for the long-term content. We'll put that in there too as well. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It was great to have Evan on, and thank you guys so much.
Thanks, man.